G'day, folks. I hope everyone's well. I'm Tommy. This is the Hotspur Hood, solo as ever on these Thursday shows. Usually do it midday, 11 a.m., but things have been happening today. Not in the Spurs community, personal. But we are here. And this is solo. This being solo, it's fully interactive. Get in the comments, have your say, tell me what you think. I read everyone's comments out. Let's get discussing. There's loads and loads to discuss. Look, I've got some controversial views on some topics at hand today. Not popular, unpopular views. Certainly looking around Twitter, Instagram, certainly looking at other people's YouTube channels. They're not popular views, but we'll get into that. I want to see what people think on everything we're talking about today. I'm going to put banners up. Any talking points you want to mention? First up, this guy's stole the headlines, especially since the Bentancur injury. We know that it was an awful challenge at the time, but people have seemed to have lost their heads and lost their logic and gone, for me, way over the top with this Matty Cash situation, towards Matty Cash more than anything else. Right, let's see. There's a few people in already. Jacob, what's happening? What's happening? The Hood. The Hood's good. It's all good here in the Hotspur Hood. Hi, David from Leicester. How you doing, my friend? Hi, Benjamin Foster. What is up? Tell me what you think in the chat. Signal looks like it might be struggling a little bit, but we'll do our best. The graphics might be a little bit freezy, but we'll be okay. So, at the time, look, it was very late. Very late challenge. But it was shin to shin. His studs were not showing. Cash has not helped injure a player with no previous injury record, has he? This is not just out of the blue that Bentancur's got an injury, right? It was his first appearance in 10 months from an injury. His first start, I should say, not first appearance. He got asked to do a lot of the donkey work with Lo Celso. I'm not going to call Ange out at this point, and I won't call Ange out for the next 10 games, and I won't call Ange out for as long as he's here, because I don't blame him. I do not blame Ange for this lack of depth, and that's why we lost our 3 games, quite frankly. Lack of depth more than anything else. But him putting him in against a very difficult Aston Villa centre midfield, having just recovered from injury, you could expect the worst, and the worst happened. Okay, look, I'll get the emotion. Benny is a top player. We saw that first 6 months of last season. Him and Kane were our best players, without a shadow of a doubt. Son was really struggling, to say the least. So those two were our best players. So I know it hurts. It hurts me as a Spurs fan. What are we going to do? We're going to hang him, Matty Cash. We're going to contact MI5 and let him know that he's targeting Spurs players because he injured someone before. Because I think he injured Hojbjerg, or he caught Hojbjerg late a couple of seasons ago, like 2-3 years ago. He caught Matt Doherty late. That's a good thing, isn't it? Catching Matt Doherty late. If it helped us terminate his contract, then fantastic, because he's a shocking player. One of many right-back decisions, many right-back signings that we messed up, getting Matt Doherty in. It's over the top. It's way over the top. And since we found that Bentancur has been injured, and I do get it, because he is a phenomenal player, and we just thought we had him back. And to be honest with you, in the first 30 minutes against Villa, he was fantastic. We talk about Kudu playing in the cam position, and he was. But Bentancur was playing in the cam position too. Lo Celso was in and out of there as the natural cam. Gil was coming central at times, usually on the left. Brennan Johnson was coming central. So everyone sort of went into that cam role, but Bentancur was awesome. He was very good. The game sort of changed, I believe, after he went off. So again, I get the injury, but you've got to look at Ange. And managers are culpable, and you've got to say, maybe we should have started skipping this game. Maybe we should have started Hojbjerg in this game. Maybe. Now, I tell you now, if you think a manager is going to look at an opposition player that's just come back from injury and say, oh, let's go a little bit soft on him, boys. Emery, let's go a little bit soft on him. McGinn, Conte, let's go softer. Matty Cash on Bentancur. It's not fair. He got injured for 10 months. No. Emery's going to say the opposite. You go at him. You make him know that you're there. You make your presence felt, because his match fitness isn't going to be there. He's not match ready really. Bentancur having 10 months out, and his bones, his muscles aren't ready. So it's a different injury than of course the ACL. It's not a knee injury as far as I know. If it is, then he's out for the season. He could be out for the season anyway. I think we're going to be a lot more careful bringing him back after the 2.5, 3 months that he's reported to be out for this time round. But, you know, Ange's got to take some culpability for that. Maybe this wasn't the time. Maybe this wasn't the time to play him. That's being overly harsh. And I'm not one of these guys that have thrown their toys at the pram and even debating whether Ange should go. You can question he hasn't got a plan B, plans, whatever, right? We talked about it on Tuesday night show. But in no way, shape or form should we should even be prominent letting Ange go at this stage, or even thinking about letting Ange go because he hasn't got a plan B. He's learning on the job. He's never been a Premier League manager. But the challenge itself, the challenge itself, it's an orange card for me. I look at it, it's probably harsher than a yellow. The studs weren't up. Orange card. Now, this is the crazy thing, because a lot of people said it at the time. There's even Spurs fans themselves said it looks like it could be an orange card. We see them challenges 10 times a Premier League weekend. Every other game, we see a challenge like that, late, shin to shin. It's not a send. It wasn't given a sending off. People are more angry at Cash being late on a player. But what are you going to do? What are you going to do to him? You're going to go around his house? Spurs fans, it's a waste of time. It is a waste of time. I say that, I'm completely hypocritical because I'm wasting time on my stream talking about it. But it does annoy me. All over Twitter, we're not talking about the game. We're not talking about how we're going to go into the Man City game and try and recuperate and get the 3 points, which we should be doing, which is what Ange and the players will be doing for sure. We're talking about Matty Cash is a bit nasty to some of our players. Emery's a bit nasty to some. Of course they are. Of course they are. You hunt him down. Been out for 10 months. You hunt him down. You put your foot. You kick him up the arse. That's what all managers would be saying. It's just the way it is, right? It's the way it is. It's Premier League football in general that this is the case. There's no rest for the wicked. You can't rest on your laurels. You get beaten. We know where nice guys finish in all aspects of life, but especially in something as deep and as complex and as difficult as the Premier League. Nice guys finish last. No room for nice guys. There never has been. There never will be. Danny, co-host Hotspur Hood, afternoon, mate. Like and subscribe. Yeah, please do. Please do. It makes a major difference. To be fair, fantastic. Support already. You've already got 14 likes. That's fantastic. Really, really do appreciate that. If you haven't yet hit a like, please make sure you do. It is free, as is subscribing. Right, let's move on. Is that a scout hat, Tommy? Is it a scout hat? Scout? What do you mean? It's a Saints hat. It was a rash challenge, but what was Cash supposed to do? Back out because Bentancur was exactly. But this is rhetoric not many people are talking about. He's a Spurs player. You know, let's hunt him down. Come on. Let's put our serious hats on for a minute. Every manager and every player in their right mind. Let's celebrate in Cash. We celebrated Romero doing similar things. Look at Romero's challenge on Haaland last season. It was no way near the ball, but it was fantastic because it told Haaland that I'm onto you, son. It was never really going to be a red card. I'm onto you. You better watch your back. And that's not so much what happened with Cash. You know, Bentancur went straight off and was injured after that. But it happens a lot. We've got Romero. There's a dirty bastard. We love him for it. We love having Romero. Look on the wings. That picture's been shared so often. Romero looking out to Cash like, I'm going to get you, son. I'm going to get you. And we all love it. And hopefully something does happen in the next game. Hopefully he don't get sent off, Romero, like he has been doing. But it's entertainment. And I think Cash has become a scapegoat for what all players would do, all teams would do, quite frankly. Benjamin, the ball in Bentancur had gone by the time he swung his leg sideways and from behind. A totally unnecessary, reckless challenge. But it wasn't unnecessary. It wasn't unnecessary and reckless because it got him injured and they won the game. You know, you can say all day long you shouldn't be getting other players injured. Unfortunately, this isn't, you know, you can't play by the rules. You can't. This is what you're going to do. Someone's been out for 10 months. You're going to try and test his fitness and put your foot up in. And I guarantee that's what Emery's told him what to do. And is Emery a bad manager for doing so? Is he a manager that lacks principles and morals? Maybe. But they got 3 points at the end of the day. And that is all that matters. Winning isn't everything. It's the only thing. The only thing that is winning. And if it helps you win, then so be it. it wasn't unnecessary because it got get him the win. Okay? So it was necessary. As bad as it is as a Spurs player, I don't want to see Bentancur injured. I don't want to see any player injured. But he won in the game because as soon as Bentancur went off, we saw the lack of depth, and they killed us pretty much after that point. And I'll go back. Ange's got to, he's got to take some culpability for that because he couldn't play Skipper Højbjerg. Could have brought him on for the last 30, 40 minutes again, Bentancur. We've got a very, very difficult, busy period over Christmas, as all clubs do. So, you've got to look at Ange to a certain degree. Some people going way over the top. Not with the Bentancur thing, just the lack of having a plan B, which is ridiculous. What choice has he really got in the other positions? Not too much. Bentancur's injury has nothing to do with Ange playing him in this game. Get real. The reason the injury was bad is because Bentancur's leg was planted in the ground on impact. So leave the bullshit out. But there's got to be. It's not a coincidence. Out for 10 months, he comes back and gets injured again. That could be a major coincidence, but it's not a coincidence. His fitness obviously isn't going to be there. The muscles that you get, the muscles that you train with week in, week out, day in, day out, they're getting used to things. They get that fitness in them. They get match fitness into them. Just the legs, just the continuous running. He didn't have that. So playing him as the deepest, as almost the only centre midfielder other than Lo Celso, he's going to be doing a lot of the donkey work, Bentancur. And, we paid the price. His leg was planted. But I see those challenges. Too, every other game, if not every game, you see a challenge where it's not time and it's shin on shin and it's a yellow card. I see it all the time. Our medical team are worse. I'll tell you what, it is ridiculous how many injuries you've got. It's something like 11 injuries. But not one single first team player was injured after the 10 games, other than Adoji against Crystal Palace. Not a single first team player. That's not memory. I don't think there was a first team player. No, that's a fact. No first team player was done so well for us in the opening 10 games. So, do you question the physio team? Of course. Everyone needs to be questioning people. It really isn't. But questioning Matty Cash is going to do nothing. What's it going to do? Sorry if the internet's a bit dodgy. I don't know what's happened there. I think I've disconnected from the main, from the extension hub, but we'll get that fixed. Cash would have done that to anyone. Bentancur using emotion, not logic, and it's fine to use emotion. It's not a problem. We're emotional fans. Personally, if we can see the go 10 years, not 10 years ago, maybe 15 years ago when I was in my teenage league, like, ref, what are you talking about? This, but your emotion changes, you get more mature, and Levy has taken my emotion out. No trophy, 16 years, over 32 transfer windows. Emotion goes a little bit, and I'm less reactionary. So maybe this is why I'm bringing it up. And he got injured. It was would have done that to anyone. It's no defense. The guys are. That's what I'm saying. What we're going to do? We're going to compete again. How does this help us? Continually talking about this. You would have stopped him by putting him back. It was a capital challenge. Why? Much worse than that. He could have stopped him by putting him back. It was a cowardly challenge. Why did the medics let him carry on? See, that's a talking point. That's something we can discuss. They've done it with VDV as well. I was at the Chelsea game, and I heard his anguish when the player came in. Physical injury was it? It was non-contact. It was his hamstring. And I swear to God, I heard his hamstring pull, or he screamed loud when he pulled it. Why were the medics not coming on at that point? That's a fair question. And why were the medics not there with the Bentancur situation? Bentancur looked like he was done at that time. Just everybody knew he was sort of done. So he should have come straight off. So maybe that is absolutely a fair argument. That's something I'll be discussing and talking about. Not what Matty Cash is. I don't know what he's got, underground layer. He's got pictures of Spurs players up, and he's like, I'm getting him next. I'm going to be late on him next. Are we going to do what we absolutely went in, rightly so, went in on help Spurs win the game? We should get a replay. Happen. Wait, Scousers. It's happened. You lost. Move on. And this is the same thing. It happened. Is an injury. Wasn't even a red card. We move on. That's it. What's going to happen? We're going to replay the game. I don't see the benefit. I do not see the benefit. Big up. The ref was a cow. Straight red would have been. It wasn't an out and out straight red. It definitely wasn't an out and out straight red. I've seen it times already this season. Bentancur's running the midfield and total frustration by Villa players led to that challenge. The worst. And that's something that can be talked about as well. That's something that should be talked about. The second yellow card. But still, what we're going to do? We're going to complain to the referee board, and what happens there? I like to focus on the football. I always like to focus on the football and the next game. 0 points out of 9. We've got to move on. We've got to move on fast. We've got to get this team in check, ready for Man City, because that's going to be difficult. And he is a prick. I'm not going to applaud Matty Cash, and hopefully we dig him next season, maybe when he plays. We go in at him, but until that point, you've got to start fucking winning games. So our fans are okay with Romero's aggressiveness to the opposition, but cry when others are aggressive towards us. Did you see the rhetoric when Romero's face on the sideline? Everyone that complained about it, which I understand the complaints because it's emotional, because he's a good player. But that's not the point. It's just that it's going on and on and on. It's like, Romero, you're going to get him. Why? Why would Romero get him? Because he's an aggressive player. He does this to players. So we've got players in our ranks that do the same thing. You know, it is double standards in many ways. It's the emotion. Emotion is completely understandable. But it seemed to be, as soon as we found out Bentancur for 2.5 months, a few days later, it just seemed to ramp up. Using your Nanji, Bill, remind me of the last player who spent time out of the game for Romero's challenges. Catch the prick, he hasn't got a clue how to tackle, and Villa is shit. If Spurs players had finished their chance in the first half, we would have stuffed them. I don't know if they're shit, Villa. I think they struggled. I think Ange got it right, and I think they really struggled in the first 20 minutes. They could have been 5, 6, 7-0 behind. They really could have. But they're not shit. They got into Europe last season. Their last 3 or 4 months were fantastic last season. He's got them playing. We were the better team, for definite, especially in the first half. Second half, what good managers do is they adjust. They adapt to what's happening. And Emery made a couple of substitutions and things started to change. We closed Gil down. They decided to go one-on-one with Gil, where they gave Gil space in the first half. And that was the best thing. That was the best thing that could have happened for Villa, because one-on-one he hasn't got the strength. He hasn't got the brutality to get past his players. When you give Gil space like he did in the first half, he was fantastic. The 1-2s, passing before he came in for a challenge, it helped us. And they sort of backed off from Kulusevski a bit more as well. So they changed the way they played, and that's what good managers do. They went on to win the game. But we knew, any football fan knows, doesn't matter if it's Spurs or otherwise. Even if it was Spurs playing Sheffield United, a team that can't score for love nor money, if you miss those chances, you're going to pay the price. And if we went 2-0 up, 3-0 up, we would have been out of sight. Also, and I'm going to get onto it soon. I'm actually going to get onto this ultra aggressive, fitness-orientated game, ultra-attacking, gung-ho game that Ange is producing for us. Because, of course, there are positives. But the last 20 minutes, last 30 minutes of game, running out of energy. I don't think we can cope. The last 20 minutes of games. It's been a common theme. Imagine if we had 2 games a week in Europe. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on. Tribalism, Joe. It's not the reason we lost. Spurs fans making excuse after excuse. There's always an excuse. The Wolves game. The Wolves excuses on the ref. What? There was nothing wrong with the ref against Wolves. Every Spurs fan, every fan is convinced there's a conspiracy against the club. We spend more time than about conspiracies. Matty Cash is working for the MI5 or he's working for the CIA to take Spurs players out. The referees have all decided that we're going to go against Spurs because Spurs are just hated because they win everything and people want to stop Spurs winning everything. Does that make sense? Do Spurs win everything? Referees targeting Spurs because they win everything? Probably not. The conspiracy theories. Let's get back to football. Let's talk football. Son on Gomez. I mean, there are challenges. Did you see Romero's against Romeo last season? The start of last season, he could have snapped his leg in two. The problem with that was we were 4-1 up against Southampton. I think it was the first or second game of last season. I remember because I'd done a preview with a good Southampton fan. He was a good guy. We was talking about in depth, and he was on post show as well. And I looked at it and Jesus Christ, 4-1 up. Romero went in with a drop kick. Look at the Dogies challenge. You see the Dogies challenge? That was a drop kick. That was a drop kick as well. If that connected, hardly went for the ball. If that connected, it would have broke his leg. There are challenges that happen like this all the time. Just because you haven't injured someone doesn't mean it's not a shocking challenge and it could have injured someone. It didn't even really hit his ankle, and it was basically shin on shin. It wasn't stud showing. That's why he didn't get sent off. But it's not. There's loads of these situations. Proving the point of your double standards, Daniel. Romero has 4 red cards in 75 games. Tottenham, he's a joke, and we want him to get a 5th. Or Matty Cash. I don't understand that as well. So what we're going to do? So everyone's cheering for Romero to come in next time and get a sending off. I want him to come in and be aggressive in every game, Romero. What are you saying? This is what they get on the sidelines. You want him to come in, knock him out, and not play? We've seen a team about 3 games hasn't bowled that well, has it? Let's face it. His challenge on was it Theo Hernandez in the AC Milan game as well was a shocker. It was an absolute shocker. You can say he's going for the ball, but when you miss the ball by fucking 2 meters, it's not great, is it? I like that Romero does that sometimes, but it is fucking double standards. It is double standards. But that was a freak tackle, though, by Son, completely out of the norm. Well, Cash has already had previous with Tottenham injuring Doherty, with Tottenham injuring Doherty. Spurs fans making up stories of plots and witch hunts whilst Levy is laughing. Exactly. This should be the target. Levy should be the target. We've got a new conspiracy every week, every time we lose. Not the lack of depth that we've seen at centre-back. Because I tell you now, having Ben Davies and Royal having to play centre-back, having Ben Davies and Dyer having to play centre-back this game before against Wolves, that's the biggest issue. That's the biggest issue. That's why we're losing these games. The defence, as good as we were in attack, I think Villa had 3 or 4 attacks. That was it. And they scored 2 goals. They had 1 disallowed for offside. It was just offside, Watkins. And the other one was a completely free header for Pau Torres, which he put wide. So we need to look at our defence. We need to get some depth in. That's what proactively, we need to be getting the defenders in. This is what we need to be focusing on, January, because the defence is not good enough, especially when we get a few injuries. That's the focus, not Matty Cash, let's hang him, because he's fouled a few Spurs players. Right, okay, moving on. Now, this is an interesting one. Very divisive, Antonio Conte. People are very, very divisive when it comes to him. In terms of, did he do a good job at Spurs? Was he just there for the money? Did he disrespect the club? Or did he do magnificently well, getting us into 4th? Because he did get us into 4th. In the last 4 seasons, we finished 6th, we finished 7th, then we finished 4th under Conte, we finished 8th last season. So the Conte linked to United. Now, stranger things have happened. I can see this. How would you feel, Spurs fans, if Conte went to Man United? How would you feel, Spurs fans? We don't always have just Spurs fans in. If he went to United and won something, that wouldn't be obscene, would it? I could definitely see him at Man United. Man United's ownership is about to change in the next few months, and all new owners, especially billionaires, they want to see their own manager. We saw it with Bowley. at Chelsea. They sacked a Champions League winning manager. I mean, Tuchel won the Champions League with Chelsea, and they sack him. Ten Hag, he's on borrowed time. We saw what happened in. I didn't watch the game, but we sort of them mess about with a 3-1 lead against Galatasaray again, and it dropped to 3-3, and they lost to Galatasaray in the Champions. They're bottom in the Champions League group. It's not a difficult group. Copenhagen in there as well. I think they're bottom. They had a shocking start to the season. As shocking as they've been, they're only 2 points behind us, Man United. They're just 2 points behind us. And if anything proves that we need to be careful about going over the top about a good start, because that's all it is a good start the Spurs have had. It just goes to show a few results change it, because they're 2 points behind us, Man United. But regardless, I think Ten Hag will end up losing his job at Man United. Conte will either go there. I could see him at Newcastle. I could really see him at Newcastle. His link with Roma, because as well as Mourinho's done in the European competitions for Roma, he's not done too well in the league. So ex-Spurs manager Mourinho could be replaced by Conte. That was the word on the grapevine anyway. I'm sure a lot of people they heard these rumours, Conte to Roma. Obviously going back to his Italian heritage makes a lot of sense. I think he could end up back to Juventus at some stage too. But back to Man United, yeah, I think that could happen. A lot of people go at Conte. A lot of Spurs fans go at Conte. And I think he made big mistakes last season. But his CV is unquestionable. It's completely unquestionable. Juventus, Italy, Chelsea, Inter. He was the last manager to win the Premier League with Chelsea. He's 8 years ago now. Won the FA Cup for them. In his 2 years there, he got into both FA Cup finals, won one of them, Premier League title. With Inter, helped them to their first Scudetto in 10 years. They haven't won it since either. The guy's a serial winner. And he's gonna go and he's gonna win something. Like the other 105, I think it's 105 players that have gone and won trophies since they left Spurs. Since we last won a trophy back in 2008. He'll add to that for sure. He made the best out of a bad situation. And the Spurs squad, even though he had Kane and Son, great attack, foundations of anything, building, is to big the defense. Defense is key. The foundations is something we just did not have. And the proof was in the pudding on Conte. Longley, the only centre-back signing we made while Conte was there. Plays 3 centre-backs. He's always played 3 centre-backs. Everywhere he's won, Conte's played 3 centre-backs. The only signing we make was Clement Longley on loan. Longley, who was on the bench for Villa, but he's struggling to even get on the bench for Villa. Bench for Villa? Was so thirsty. Mad and thirsty. Can't get on the bench for Villa. They're going to cancel his loan. Barcelona cancelling Longley's loan to Aston Villa because he's not getting game time. His first team every week. Had to be almost. Because he had Davis, Sanchez, and Dyer. Did we support Conte? We got him Spence. We got him Richarlison. It's a stupid question, really. He'll go on to win things. I don't think he'll necessarily go Man United, although Man United, I'm convinced, will get a new manager before the end of the season when this new ownership take over. I've got a funny feeling to be Newcastle manager. I just got a funny feeling. As good as Howe's been, I think they need someone to take him to the next level, for sure. This is going to be hard. This is going to sound harsh. I don't care. This is going to sound harsh. And I've been thinking about this today. If Ange had this side, if Ange had Conte's side last season, Ange would be in the bottom half. He would be 7th, 8th, or 9th. If he had Conte's team. Conte never had Van der Ven. Conte never had Porro. We had him for about a month. Last day of the January transfer window as well. So a month, 2 months. He never had a Dogi because he's out on loan. And he done very well in his loan spell. Never had Vicario. He had an old, dead defence. Completely dead defence. He had no creator. Now, I think there was a time where everyone was saying Conte was offered Maddison. If Conte was offered Maddison and he was offered no other option, he'd take Maddison. Maddison is not a Conte player. Doesn't play with camp. Never has done. He plays with flat 3 centre midfielders most of the time. Even Eriksen, when he signed him at Inter Milan from Tottenham, he moved Eriksen into a centre midfield role. He has creative, deep midfielders everywhere he's gone. We didn't support him with that. We should have got a Ward-Prowse. We should have got a Brozovic. We didn't. We didn't get that type of player. So Conte was not supported in any way, shape, or form. It's as simple as that. And him getting us fourth with that team in that season, the guy deserves a fucking statue. Because no other manager on the planet would have got us further above in that league. He took over when we were 10th under Nuno as well. The amount of shit that Conte gets, and I'm telling you now, wherever he goes, he will win because he's a serial winner. It's Levy. What Levy does to the managers at this club are disgraceful, and that needs to be the focus. That has to be the focus. It had to be the focus when we was unbeaten for 10 games. Doesn't matter. You still got to be Levy out. We need new owner because we know it's brief. It comes in brief periods. The proof is there. Pochettino, 500 days without signing. Jose Mourinho sacked him before a Carabao Cup. Did Jose go on to win things? A serial winner. I didn't like the Jose appointment at the time. I thought he was done. I thought he was past his best when we employed Jose. But we did. Got us to a Carabao Cup final. We sacked him. A serial winner for a Carabao Cup final. And as I said, he did go on to win something with Roma. We won the Conference League. We dissed the Conference League. But I tell you now, Spurs fans, myself included, would have been celebrating it had we won that. I would have been. It was the inaugural one as well, so it sort of was a big deal. And then they were in the Europa League final last season, Jose. But we sacked him before a final. Incredible. We did not support Conte, a manager that plays 3 centre-backs, signing Longley, not even on an optional fee. There was no intention to sign him permanently. As your only centre-back, that's not supporting Conte. It's not. Ange, we bring it back to Ange. We bring it back to this season. We bring it back to the lack of depth. He needs support. We cannot go January or February when the January window closes and look up this squad and say, if Romero and VDV get injured, we've got to decide between Dyer and Royal and Dyer and Davis. If we're in that situation, we're not getting top 4. This team is capable. The first 11 fit is capable of getting top 4 without a shadow of doubt. The first 11 is very, very, very good. The Spurs first 11, but unfortunately, first 11 alone doesn't get you league titles. You need a squad, or even in the top 4 and fighting for domestic trophies, European trophies. It doesn't happen. You need the squad or some form of depth, and it just doesn't exist at Spurs. That depth doesn't exist. Right, we've got 15 people watching. We've got 18 likes, but we've got people coming in and out. If you haven't hit a like, please make sure you do. What I say is not always popular, but I'm not trying to be popular. I can assure you I'm not trying to be popular. We're not one of the big channels where I have to just sing Kumbaya and agree with what everybody says. Me, Dan, whoever's on the show, we try and keep it as real as possible. I know people would disagree. People would disagree with my take on Cash. Would disagree with Conte. A lot of people say he's a terrible manager, or he I don't know, threw the towel in with us. I don't know, but it's not my opinion. It's not my opinion. And on these solo shows, I want to hit everyone's opinions. Whether you agree or disagree. Now let's get through the chat. We're still not 18 likes. Come on, smash a like if you haven't. Please, it makes a difference. Right, Sonon Gomez, Bill. Let's get past this. Benjamin Foster. All I say, Spurs fans lost. All I say is good luck to Man United to have put up with that miserable prick. He is miserable. He is miserable. He doesn't give much away in his post-match press conferences. That is for sure. I will agree with you there. The Son challenge was unnecessary, but the break was more to do with Aurier bundling him at the same time. Bundling. Ten Hag was written off last season also after a poor start. United will be there or thereabouts. Yeah, I think it's a little bit... I think it's far too soon to be talking about sacking Ten Hag. It's just the fact that there's a new ownership. They're not doing well in the Champions League. And I know how football works. It's a fickle sport. So if I was the ownership, I'll be sticking with Ten Hag 100%. But, football's a funny old game. And you're 2 losses away from destruction. 2 or 3 games away from destruction. Now, I still think Conte achieving top 4 was a minor miracle. I do. It is a miracle. I don't know how he does it. No, it was a miracle. Kane and especially Son was on fire that season. Kane wasn't. Kane was bad that season. Kane was bad. Son carried us the first 6 months because Kane wanted to go to Man City and he just wasn't bringing it. I think his head was in Man City at that time. So Kane didn't start bringing it till second half of the season. And it was Son who got the golden boot. And well, obviously the season after, Kane absolutely ripped it up. Kane, especially Son, was on fire that season. That's true, but Kane and Son were on fire the 2 seasons previous, and we finished 6th and 7th. So, yeah, they were there. They were there during Mourinho's stint. They were there Nuno's stint, and they didn't finish 4th. Conte got us 4th with a deplorable defence. I think they had Alderweireld as well. Even if Conte had Alderweireld, he would have had more of a chance. He had fucking nothing defensively. Even Romero's always been good. We just had to rein him in a little bit. He's always had that class in him. We saw it for the first 10 games this season. But he was injury prone at that time. As soon as Conte took over, he was injured. I think he played 1 game and he was injured. Only played 19 games in his first season for Conte. I think about 8 for Conte, Romero. So our defence, predominantly that season, was Dyer, Sanchez and Davis, centre-back. So for me, he does deserve a medal for getting that team into the top 4. Kane or no Kane. You know, last season we were 4th. When we sacked Conte, we finished 8th with Kane and Son. You needed defence. No, I'm talking about Conte had Kane. Massive loss equally, you could say, where would we be under Ange if Kane was still here? Yeah, no, do you know what? In the first 10 games this season, if we had Kane, things would change. You don't know. There would be many variables. But I look on the quality of the first team. It is a very good first team that we've got. It really is. It's definitely top 4 credentials in there. You've got to look Maddison behind Kane. Wow, that could have been incredible. That would have been incredible. If Kane was there, we wouldn't have lost the last 3 games because you get the natural creator. This is what Son's trying to be now. Without Kane and Maddison, so Son has no creator because he doesn't have Kane or Maddison now. He's struggling. Son's coming deep, and then it's 3 games and a 3-goal drought for Son. It could be a coincidence again. I don't think it is. So I would have kept Kane in the summer. I really would have, and that's not Captain Hindsight here, Mr. Hindsight. I said it from the start. You know, if we're going to lose money, if we lose £100 million, if we don't get the £100 million selling Bayern Munich this summer, who gives a fuck? Because you're not going to spend it anyway. And it's not my money; it's Levy's money. So everyone's very very emotional about. Oh, we can't lose £100 million. We can't lose 100. Who gives a shit? Levy don't give a shit. But only Levy gives a shit about losing £100 million. We didn't sign a striker replacement. We signed Brennan Johnson, who's a right winger. Howe's position at Newcastle reminds me of Hughes at City when the Arabs exactly that, Benjamin. He done a very good job to start with, but it was the transitional period. It's when they were relegation threatened team, Man City. Before they got the takeover. They got an initial takeover, then they got another when they brought, was it Sven? Did they bring Sven Goran Eriksson in? I can't remember. I think so. They had an initial one, then they had the Saudis take over. And it was gradual rise. And they had like the best players from some of the teams that were finishing in and around Europe. So they bought the Bellamy's, Shea Gibbons, Clichy when he wasn't really wanted at Arsenal. Some of the best teams, sort of players that weren't getting as much first team, and some of the best players from certain other leagues and lesser Premier League teams. And I think Howe is that. I think Howe is very similar to that. And then they go Mancini. What with Harry Kane still? What with Harry Kane still? We would be bottom half. Seriously, what? I don't know. I don't know what you mean. We agree on something, Benjamin. Yeah, Benjamin Foster. In fairness to Howe, he's done what was asked for him so far. Hughes was a failure at City. Lost Champions League spot for us. I remember. It would be harsh on Howe, but you just know how football is, and the progression. They get top 4 again this season. That's top 4 2 seasons on the bounce. The wealthiest owners in the world, the Saudis, 10 times wealthier than Man City, much wealthier than PSG. They won a title. They won the league title. It's as simple as that. like Man City back in the day. You think when people are saying they want a league title, you think, what the fuck? These are relegation standard team. You got Man United, Arsenal, Liverpool, Chelsea. Man City never going to win a league. What are you fucking on about? People saying the same about Newcastle, 10 times richer than Man City. So their focus, their ambition will be to win the Premier League title. Can Howe take them there? That's the question. Do you know what? He's done a fantastic job with not great play. Newcastle's backline isn't great. I mean, he played Dan Burn at left back. Shaw, who's good. He's a good player, Shaw. Lascelles. It's not the greatest backline. I mean, Trippier is very good, but he's no spring chicken. Football's all about opinions. I listen to a lot and decide what's right. That's the way to be. Why not? We all think our own opinion is right. Deep down, if they get rid of Etty, how much more money would that cost Man United? God knows. I think there'll be a year and a half in. He probably had a 4-year contract or something like that. God knows. But they got stupid amounts of money, haven't they? 17 goals, 9 assists for Kane. Poor for him. Super mere mortals. Yeah, it's probably his worst season. Son carried us there, and we still got fourth. Just you've got to look at Conte's track record and say that is unbelievable track record. Wherever he goes next, he's going to win things. He just is. My point was that Howe, like Hughes, is a stopgap. Yeah, he is. That is it. He's a fantastic manager, but I'm with Benjamin when he's a stopgap. And it is unlucky. It's unfortunate for him because if he was a big name that had that track record in the past, he'd be given more time. But Bournemouth manager, ex-Bournemouth manager who got sacked when they got relegated. It was a weird appointment at the time. It worked out perfectly. They know what they're doing. Gradual process. They've signed the right players. And if they keep getting top 4, they win a little trophy, they can get bigger players. Financial fair play will come in there. Will help them out even more. They've got unlimited money, but they can't spend it because of financial fair play. Another season in Champions League, they will start bringing in the big players. Okay, cool, mate. I mistook you was comparing their spells, which only Howe has been a success, but true, Howe is definitely a stopgap. Yeah. I think a lot of us can agree on that. Let's hope it's right. Their league would ruin Ancelotti, Nagelsmann, Ten Hag, slot, and just about anyone else. Yeah, absolutely. Can't go fight. You can't. Look, it wasn't our most successful manager, Pochettino, because he didn't win anything. But the football he played and the plays he brought through, we were playing great football, and it seemed like it was a matter of time before we won something on the Poch. And then you go 500 days without signing a player. That is, if you wanted to define Levy's spell as an owner, that would be it. Competing for titles, 15-16 against Leicester, just missed out. 16-17 again against Chelsea, just we go 500 days without signing a player. Ridiculous. You said earlier, Ange with Conte's squad last season would be bottom half, and I was saying, well, that team includes Kane. That ain't happening for bottom half. I think it would be. Ange's system, the defense is fundamental to keep this high line. It is absolutely fundamental. And this team, this Ange, the way he plays, the system would not cope with 2 games a week. It just wouldn't. Can't cope with 1 game. We've got 11 injuries playing 1 game a week. And everything comes through the defense with Ange. For me, Dogi and Porro flying up there. Vicario, much better than Lloris, who in his prime was fantastic, but the last 2 or 3 years. Last 2 or 3 years. Last 2 or 3 years have been terrible, absolutely terrible for Lloris. That's a horrible backline to have. I mean, look, he's lost Romero, he's lost VDV, and we've lost our last 3 games. Calling on this defence is having to call on this defence, rely on this defence, is an accident waiting to happen. It's not a coincidence for me that we've lost the defenders and Ange's lost 3 games on the bounce. This is what Conte had to deal with. Conte is a serial winner. I like Ange, but Ange's history is Japan, Australia. Can you name 2 teams from Japan and Australia? 57 years old, and Celtic, who cannot not win the SPL. They cannot not win the SPL. No chance. In the last 40 years, only 1 team outside of Celtic and Rangers won the SPL. and that's Aberdeen. Sir Alex Ferguson's Aberdeen. Last 10 years, Celtic have won it every season other than the season Gerrard won it at Rangers, who done fantastically well to win it with them. Came to bloody the Premier League and was nowhere near good enough. Got replaced. Was in the relegation zone nearly with Aston Villa. Got replaced, and that's why Emery's doing so well. So the SPL is not a good barometer. It's a horrible league. So you've got to look at the track record of both managers, and you've got to say, you know, Conte is right up there. I'm sorry, a 25-goal league striker, you're not finishing bottom half. He wouldn't, if he got 25 goals, he wouldn't finish bottom half. I agree. But he wouldn't get 25 goals. That's the whole point. Yeah, that's the whole point. So he would get less than 20 because the system would be different. You play this ultra-high line, and Kane wouldn't get the support. He absolutely wouldn't. You wouldn't be able to come down and create in this Postecoglou system. It'd be very, very different. And it's just the back line itself. Conte knows how to operate with a bad back line. I'm not sure Postecoglou does. Certainly not in the big leagues. He's never managed in the big league. So the guy needs time. And I'm not anti-Postecoglou, far from it. We need to give this guy a whole season. Any manager that we employed in the summer, even if you finish 13th or 14th, I don't care. We need to give a manager a season. We need to give him 2 or 3 transfer windows and get behind him. Not fans. It's not just the fans that we've got to get behind him. Great if we get behind him. The ownership has to get behind him. The proof's in the pudding. This January, proactivity. We've got to get those centre backs in place. First and foremost, centre backs. Maybe a centre mid now with Bentancur. Yeah, I think with Bentancur out, we're gonna have to look at a centre mid, aren't we? Bissouma Sarr on African Cup of Nations duty. It's centre back and now centre mid. It's just the way it is. Right. I sort of already brought this up. No Europe, no worry. Apologies for the signal again. The extension, I've turned the extension off for some reason. So if the signal's not great, I do apologise. But I think we've got 17 people watching. It's probably the last 10 minutes of the show now. I don't like to go too far over an hour on these solo shows. But thanks for being here. And we're still not on, we're still not on 20 likes. We're on 19, just on the edge, bordering on. Smash us a like. Please smash us a like. It really does make a difference. Just get us to 20. Get us to 20. So no Europe, no worries. Look, for me, it's depressing. It's more. I want to ask questions more than anything in this topic, in this segment. So another week of European football, 7 Premier League clubs in it. Another week where we're not one of them. Do you watch the games? I want to know. Do people watch the games in full, or do you listen to the Sky Sport News commentary where they're going through the list? Are you jealous with the other teams in Europe, with Spurs missing out on it? Deep down, are you jealous us not having those midweek games? It's a question I want to ask to the Spurs fans. So personally, my take is I'm not interested. When Spurs are not involved, I'm really not that interested in watching other teams. When it gets to the latter stages, yeah, I'll watch it. If there's British teams in there, I'll watch it. And I'll tell you now, if it's Arsenal, West Ham, and Chelsea, I'm not cheering them on. I don't care if they're British. I'm watching it so they lose. And if I'm even at the group stage level, you know, Arsenal against Lens the other day, I watched like the first 10 minutes. I want them to get battered. I want them to lose. That's why I'm watching it. If anything. But as I said, when it gets to the latter stage, I don't even like the setup of the Champions League. It'll be interesting. I am sort of looking forward to the format next season. I think, is it 36 league format? You play 10 games randomly against certain teams. It's a little bit different. It's getting boring. It's getting generic. So I'm glad they're changing things slightly. I'm glad they're doing that in the Champions League rather than a fucking ESL. That would be depressing. Hopefully, we're there next season. Top 4, top 5, I think, gets us into the Champions League. We're capable. We're very, very capable. If the starting 11, what I've seen of Vicario, Van der Ven and Udogie so far, this team is capable of fighting for the title this season. And it was before we got the injuries. But injuries do happen. They will happen. It's inevitable we're going to get to this situation. But there you are. It's a blessing we don't have Europe, though. It really is. We made changes. We made lots of changes against Fulham. and it was shocking. It was one of the worst Spurs games I've seen for a while. We saw Conte ball, and Fulham just dominated us. They beat us 2-1. They could have beat us 4-1. You know, 5. They beat us on penalties, didn't they? But they could have beat us by a lot more. And they didn't have their first team out either, which is crazy. So we can't cope with 2 games in a week. To be fair, Conte couldn't cope last season. Our Champions League group stage last season was, let me think, Frankfurt, Sporting Lisbon, and Marseille. I think Sporting beat us twice. Marseille dominated us twice, 2 games, on both the games, but they couldn't beat us. Very, very fortunate to get through. I don't know how Conte was 4th before he got sacked, even. I honestly don't know. You have to look back and say, you know, it's because he's a very good man. He knows what to do. As horrible as the football is, you know, horses for courses. You try and play wonderful football with Davis and Royal and Dyer at the back, you're gonna finish 20th. What's gonna happen to you if you play that sort of football with those boys at the back? You're gonna get beat 7-1 by Newcastle like we did last season. Conceded like 5 in the first 20 minutes. Everyone was calling to see more attacking football with that team, and we conceded 5 against Liverpool the following game as well, I think. So we all wanted to see attacking football, and that Conte ball is depressing watching it. But you know, he's a winner. He tries to win games regardless, and that's the best way. The only way he found to win games was to play ultra deep and play ultra defensive. He's always been a sort of defensive-minded manager, Conte, but never that defensive, because you always had really, really good wing backs and centre backs that pushed up. Didn't exist at Spurs. Did not have that. All 4 matches we've had to rely on our depth. Fulham, Chelsea, Wolves, Villa, we've all lost. We've lost all of them. All of those games that our depth was perfectly shown, lost them all. Coincidence? I don't think it is. Right, so we do have Man City Sunday. Before I go, I just want to give my prediction on the game. I don't think I'll be doing another show till Sunday. So, we are their bogey side, Man City. We were their bogey side back in the day as well when we were finishing 10th, 11th. They've been we've been their bogey side for a while. But even with Pep, over the last 3 or 4 years, you know, they can't find a way to finish us off a lot of the time. And to be fair, we looked very good against Villa. Even with all the injuries we had, first 20, 30 minutes, as I said at the start of the show, you know, we could have scored 6, 7. We really could have. We had 3 or 4 one-on-ones that we didn't take. But now other teams are looking at us thinking, wow, even with those injuries that they had, they go that gung-ho. Emery was shell-shocked. When he saw that team and how aggressive and how high we were pressing, there's no way Emery could believe that was happening. He sort of sorted it out in the second half. He changed a few things. But Pep will expect it, and he'll know exactly how to deal with it. Another big thing is defensively, they're so comfortable on the ball that our press is not really going to affect them as much as it would other teams. So our biggest strength is sort of curtailed because Man City is so good at playing the ball at the back. And then you've got the injuries that we've got. It's going to be very, very difficult, extremely difficult. I think Ange will have to play it deeper. He'll have to play slightly more defensive for us to get anything out of the game. If he goes gung-ho like he did against Villa, as I said, Pep's a much better manager. He's got much better players. We're going to get killed 6-7-0. But I think Ange will adapt to a certain degree. He's not going to go fully defensive and completely hold that ultra deep, low block line. I don't think he's going to go down that avenue. But I think he's going to play slightly deeper. And it's the right thing to do. And Ange will again go up in my estimations if he does. Because it's the only way we're going to get a point or even a win. If you get a point, you can get a win. Because late on in the game, if you draw in, you never know. And I've said before the 4 games started, because we had a long time to discuss the international break. Next 4 games, Villa, Man City, West Ham, Newcastle. I said we're going to get 4 or 5 points. We're going to lose to Villa. We're going to draw against Man City. We're going to beat West Ham, and we're going to either draw or lose to Newcastle. I think Man City draw, West Ham win, Newcastle draw. And people say I'm a negative Spurs fan. I do. It's going to be like it's either going to be 7-1 to City or it's going to be 1-1. That's how I see it. And get Dorrington in at centre back, please, please, please. I don't get who goes, Davis or Royal, but I do not want to see two fullbacks playing centre back again. I don't care if it could hurt Dorrington's. Can it hurt Dorrington's career if he plays really badly and the fans get on his back? I don't think the fans would get on his back, to be honest with you. I think the fans, rightly so, praise Ange and get right behind Dorrington or whatever youngster could come in. I mean, people are talking about Donnelly coming in now. Bentancur's injured as centre mid or Cam. So there are options, not many options, because we've got so many injuries against Man City. But remember, I said this is going to be a draw. I've got a funny feeling this will be. Right, final part of the show, I'll go through the papers. Always on these shows, so I'll go through the papers, looking at rumours, transfer rumours, some affecting Spurs, some not so much. Regardless, there's a domino effect with transfers. There always is, there always has been. It's just one push and a waterfall starts appearing. And what's it? The 30th of November today? It's December tomorrow. Got 4 weeks. 4 weeks until the window opens. We need to be proactive. So I'm going to go through some of the rumours right now. Let's see what people are saying in the comments. Big thank you because we're on 20. We're on 20 likes. Thank you ever so much. If you haven't hit a like yet, please do. And get subscribing to the channel. That way you can be notified of all future content. This is the only solo show I do a week. Dan does a lot of solo shows. If you saw it yesterday, he had a friend with him. He's had a friend with him the last few shows. And when I say friend, I don't mean Homo sapien, human, a snake. He loves a snake, Dan. And not a trouser snake either. What about the round of papers? Yeah, this is it. This is like the rumor. This is it. I like football. I ain't missing big Champions League games. That's fair enough. That's absolutely fair enough. And I get that. It's depressing watching. The scene as we've been in it as well for so long. That's one of the more depressive things because we were in it for, we didn't fail to make Europe for 14 years or something, 13, 14 years before we did this season. And a lot of that time we were in the Champions League. Back in the day, when I started, obviously when I was 11, 12, early 2000, we were getting nowhere near Europe, let alone the Champions League. So then I was watching the Champions League to see the other big teams play. But we should be in that bracket, pay the highest season ticket prices. We've had world-class players for a long, long time. We should really be getting Champions League amount of revenue we're receiving. So it's depressing watching other teams in the Champions League. I'll certainly be watching the latter stages, and I do go through some of the games from time to time. I'll go through the games, and I like watching the news channels to see the latest scores. Basically, other people watching the games, if you get me. Tommy, where's your egg custard? I had a donut today. I don't eat donuts. I don't eat too much bread these days because I need to lose timber, not gain timber. But I had a wonderful custard donut today. But we talked about it last time. Yeah. Do you know what? Next Thursday, I'll write it in my schedule. Egg custard tart for Benjamin. So this one's slightly different. The rumour mills. The rumour mill. I'm going to go through some papers here. As this is slightly different because usually I have a story and then the source. But I'm going to go through the actual newspapers now. So, and go through the stories in each newspaper, if that makes sense. So, firstly, Evening Standard. Tottenham have joined the race to sign Nice defender Jean-Claire Todibo as they prepare to enter the transfer market for a new centre-back in January. Please, please, please. This is what I want to see. Proactivity at centre-back. There are so many names we're hearing. We're hearing Crystal Palace's Anderson. They will be insane to sell him at this point. They don't need money. A lot of Premier League clubs that get £200 million just for staying in the Premier League. So unless you're going to pay £60 million for Anderson, who's been one of the best defenders this season, you're not getting him. So I think we do need to look outside the Prem. Tapsoba's pushing it because he'll cost £50-60 million from Leverkusen. He's the one I'd like because he's both-footed. He's played a lot of games in the Bundesliga now. I think he's played 150, 200 games. Where Van der Ven, as good as he's been, only played like 38 games for Wolfsburg. So imagine what Tapsoba can offer. But Leverkusen are top of the Bundesliga, where they certainly were before last weekend. I didn't really check on last weekend's results. So Tapsoba would be good. Todibo, a lot of people are talking about this guy. proactivity, because we need a centre-back first and foremost. And then I'd like, as I said, a centre-mid. Get Calvin Phillips on the loan deal. We'll get Ruben Neves. He's not doing so well in Saudi Arabia. One of them on a 6-month loan. First of all, get a centre-back in. So Todibo links. I'm gonna look at him in more depth next Thursday on my solo show. I'll look at him in full depth. Chelsea are prepared to. This is Evening Standard again. To snub Fulham's interest in striker Armando Broja in January. So he's not really got going, has he, Broja? And he's probably not going to get going at Chelsea if he can't get in front of Nicholas Jackson, because Nicholas Jackson's a very, very good player. He's a fantastic player, but he's just not an out striker, not at Premier League level. So if Broja's struggling to get in that Chelsea team because he is an out striker, yeah, it doesn't surprise me that teams like Fulham are looking at him, but apparently they're going to snub that. The Guardian. Only one story from The Guardian today. Man United are aiming to strengthen in 4 positions in January, with concerns over Sofian Amrabat's indifferent start, prompting the club to consider a move for another defensive midfielder, which is weird because they've already got Casemiro. They've already got Amrabat. If anything, they need more creation in centre midfield. But carry on. If that's what they get, if Man United want to get more defensive midfielders, then fine. If Arsenal want to get more defensive midfielders, then fine. They're not plugging the gaps that they need to. Man United need centre back. They're going with Harry Maguire and Johnny Evans, sometimes Lindelof. It looks like Varane's going. So I don't Man United sign centre backs. Sign him. Sign more defensive midfielders. Same with Arsenal. I want you to fill up on defensive midfielders. I don't want you signing a striker, Arsenal, because that's their weakness. Nketiah. I don't think they can win the league with Nketiah. They're top at the moment, not playing good ball. They can win the league, Arsenal, if they get a proper striker in. If they get only in, Man City get a few injuries. You never know. You never know. So I hope Arsenal don't get a striker. I hope Chelsea don't get a striker. And I hope Man United don't get centre-backs. So I'm happy Man United getting a defensive midfielder. Right. Daily Mail. Quite a lot coming from the Daily Mail today. So this is actually, Benjamin, this is closer to Gazzetta Soccer Italia on a Saturday morning because I'm going through the newspaper one at a time. Daily Mail. Everton intend to discuss a contract extension with Sean Dyche, but uncertainty caused by their 10-point deduction has delayed formal talks. He's done a fantastic job, hasn't he, Sean Dyche? Let's face it. A group of 295 former rugby union players will take a step in there. I don't know, bloody rugby news. What's that coming from? Gareth Southgate's agent, Terry Byron, is suing the FA for millions of pounds over the early termination of a deal to manage England players' commercial appearances, which was due to run in 2030. I'm going to use this again. I'm going to go back to it because a lot of this is not even football. This is Daily Telegraph. So that's great. So now Reading are going to be in the Premier League and take over from us. so a Swiss, Luxembourg takeover for Reading. Now Chelsea, a plan to divert Roman Abramovich's 2.34 billion Chelsea sale fund to Israel to fund. Abramovich's Chelsea sale fund to Israel rather than Ukraine was discussed and turned down in the wake of the Hamas terrorist attack. Well, I'm not getting into that. Fucking hell, we've got stories about Tom Daly here. Okay, the Sun, Paris Saint-Germain are ready to sell forward Hugo Ekitike in January, putting Premier League clubs on red alert. So, as I said, there are a lot of Premier League clubs that should be looking at strikers. Arsenal, Chelsea, ourselves, quite frankly, unless we feel Veliz would do the job. I would much rather put Veliz there than some people saying Kulusevski, or if Son goes away for a month. So it's not just if he gets injured, Son will be gone for a month, so we will have a striker row available. I'll probably put Veliz there over Richarlison as well, quite frankly, but it shows that we do need a striker. So hopefully, in the background, we're looking at centre back, centre mid, and striker. Many clubs, and Tite is one of them. Paris Saint-Germain signed Mouani in the summer and Gonçalo Ramos. That's why if you look at the teams around Europe, there is nobody else. There are no other suitors for Tony. Tony will stay in England anyway. Ivan Tony could go Arsenal. And then equally, Osman, who scares me. I do not want Chelsea or Arsenal getting Osman. But I just look around the clubs in Europe, and as I said, Paris Saint-Germain, You know, they got Moani, Ramos. No other club in France are going to be able to afford him. Juventus have got Vlahovic. Inter, AC Milan don't have money. Real Madrid don't have money. They're going to get Mbappe in the summer as well. Barcelona have Lewandowski. Yeah. Oh, Osherman's going Chelsea. I hope not. I hope I'm wrong. Steve Cooper has told his Nottingham Forest players to stop swapping shirts with opposing players at half-time after Murillo was spotted doing so with fellow Brazilian Lucas Paqueta against West Ham. I hate that. I hate even talking before a game. Half-time. Full-time, fair enough. But swapping shirts at half-time, yeah. I'm with Steve Cooper there, 100%. You save that to the end of the game. This is trivial. Daily Mirror. Alejandro Garnacho's brother has dismissed any suggestion that Lionel Messi unfollowed the Man United player on Instagram by claiming he never followed him in the first place. Oh, my God. This is the world we're living in. Was Garnacho unfollowed by Messi? That's a headline. Wow. Right. Daily Express, back to actual football. Paris Saint-Germain again might have stolen a march on Chelsea in the battle to sign much-hyped Corinthians wonder kid Gabriel Moscardo. I've heard this guy linked with a lot of clubs, Moscardo. A lot of young Brazilians in their late teens, early 20s that are going to be coming to Europe in the next 6 months to a year. Yeah, this is a bad generation of Brazilian players. But the next one looks like it's going to be magnificent. A lot of very good players coming through. That's it, basically. There's the Daily Record report. Travelling Celtic supporters were targeted by Lazio Yobs in frightening scenes with UEFA set to take a dim view after flares were lobbed at visiting supporters before one was fired back in a home end. Good. Not good, but not good. But it's good to see Celtic fans get some of their own medicine. Because I tell you what, if there's one set of fans you don't fuck with, and what Serie A, it's the Napoli fans and it's the Lazio fans. Because they're ultras off. They will fuck you. It looks like that's what they've done to the Celtic fans. So sometimes it's good to take your medicine. It looks like Celtic fans have there. Right, we're going to end the show. I want to say a big thank you to watching, whether you're watching live or on the recording. I'm sorry about I can see the visuals in the background. It's very clangy and glitchy. I think the audio should be fine. So apologies for that. I'll make sure that's fixed next time. And next time, I'm going to look at the transfers more in depth. I'm going to look at specific players in depth, the ones we're linked with, and players that I feel like we should be linked with next Thursday. But of course, we have our guest shows in between. Me and Dan will be going live Sunday with guests. We'll be doing our live N17 effect on Tuesday. The Aussie boys will probably be a Saturday midday. So get subscribed, keep subscribed to the channel. You'll be notified of all the future content. Well, you certainly will if you hit the notification bell as well. As always, stay classy, Lily Whites. Much love, everyone. Peace out.